PNC Bank. Kendrick Perkins, Ramona Shelburne, Adrian Wojnarowski, Malika Andrews, Zach Lowe. We have a lot to get to over the course of the next hour, but we start with Joe Dumars joining us for more on the decision to suspend Draymond Green. And Joe, you told our Adrian Wojnarowski that, quote, Draymond's excessive and over-the-top actions and his history as a, quote, repeat offender, they're both large factors in the league's decision to suspend him. So to be clear, if it was a different player with a different history, would he have been suspended here?
That's a possibility. Yes, that's a possibility that it could have been differently. You know, we look at each one of them when they come through, and we sit down and we pour through it. And yeah, Adrian and I had that conversation earlier, and I said that, like, it could be, it possibly could be for sure.
So it could be that another player with this history would have been suspended, but how much was that levied in this situation? I'm just trying to understand here, why not a heavy fine to try to preserve the sanctity of competition?
So, there was debate throughout the office all day yesterday on this. It wasn't a quick or easy or light decision. We understand the ramifications of a decision like this. Here's the thing. As I was saying to Adrian earlier when we were talking, it's like, the act itself, okay, we felt over the top and excessive. The conduct, detrimental. Some of the things that went on after the incident.
You mean engaging with fans? That's what you mean when you say that conduct?
Exactly, conduct detrimental. And then also the repeat offender. We think in totality, you take all three of those things, and that's where you end up landing with a suspension. If you separate them out individually, maybe not. But if you put them all together, that's how you end up with, and that's how we came up with suspension.
And of course, Adam Silver also in attendance in that game. But Joe, you're in a unique position here. You're someone who worked for the Kings as recently as last year. You've talked about your closeness, right, with Draymond Green on this show. How did that factor in?
When I took this position, I have relationships, with quite a few teams right now in the playoffs, either player, coach, GM, owner, whoever it is. I have relationships with people all throughout the league. So when I took this position, I knew that there was a chance that something like this would come up with someone that I know, that I have relationships with. At the end of the day, if you're going to take this position, sit in this seat, you have to stand on it. And you have to stand on the decisions, irrespective of who's involved. And yeah, of course, I'm like super close with Draymond. Draymond spent a lot of time at my house growing up as a young guy. And so this is not someone that I don't know. And I didn't take it lightly, and none of us did. I must say that it was an all-day process yesterday.
Joe, many people, would contend that there would be no stomp from Draymond Green if Sabonis did not grab Draymond's leg. So who did the league determine was the instigator in this investigation?
That's true. That's a fact. If he doesn't grab his ankle, we don't have this. But here's the thing. Grabbing an ankle is one thing, and the referees dealt with it on the court, right? And so we feel like that was enough, that they dealt with it on the court, technical foul, Golden State gets one free throw.
Yeah.
You separate that out and you go to Draymond now, and you go, okay, that was Sabonis' act. Now what was Draymond's act? And so when you separate them out, I'll say the three things that I said a little while before: the act itself, conduct detrimental, and repeat offender. That's where you end up landing with the suspension, and the other one is where you land up with the technical foul. So of course, if he doesn't grab his ankle, we don't get here. But the act itself, we thought was a little bit overboard a little bit there.
Right. I think that's where people would say, okay, well, there was a discrepancy, right? There was a technical called on one and a flagrant 2 on another, and that caused Draymond to miss the rest of the game. We know the rest of that story. The Kings went on to make 10 of 15 shots, and they won the game. So when it's all said and done here, has either Draymond or Domantas Sabonis expressed remorse for their respective roles in this incident, to you or to the league?
I haven't talked to Domantas, but look.
But you talked to Draymond?
Draymond and I talked.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to him this morning. I have a relationship with him. We're irrespective of this, it's someone, like I said, spent a lot of time at my house growing up. And so we had a conversation about this morning. Like, look, he's not happy with it. He disagrees with the decision. I completely, and told him, totally understand that, but this is where we came out. And so look, Dre and I know each other extremely well. We've had a lot of conversations about a lot of different things throughout his career, and this was just another one of them this morning that we had.
Joe, as always, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on NBA Today. We really appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Back here with Zach Lowe, with Kendrick Perkins, Ramona Shelburne, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, I'm just going to start with you here. We heard from Joe here. You also spoke with him this morning. How is this reverberating both within the Warriors and the league here?
Yeah, this was such a significant decision, and I think Joe Dumars just talked about it again here, that they really deliberated over this. And remember, this isn't a one-person decision. Just like when Rod Thorne was back then they called it the Dean of Discipline in the NBA with David Stern, he did not act unilaterally. Adam Silver has a big voice, and especially this kind of decision that impacts a team that's down 2-0 in the playoffs. Adam Silver was in the building, and I think you go through the three parts of this. I don't think you should underestimate the conduct detrimental. Adam Silver sitting in the arena after Draymond Green essentially is ejected, going over to the fans, they were already in a frenzy, probably further inciting that with them. Listen, this is a league that it was a very long time ago, but all it takes is one cup being thrown, just like they did at the Palace, and you have an incident that can get out of hand. So I think any one of these, as I think Joe Dumars said, it doesn't get them suspended, but when you stack them all up.
Totality.
And again, repeat offender. In a lot of ways, this was a Lifetime Achievement Award for Draymond Green. This, because of who he is and his history, fair or unfair, it factored into this, and the league says it factored into this.
I mean, Adrian and I both spoke to a lot of folks with the Warriors last night, this morning. They're livid. I mean, they're absolutely livid with this decision. I think they were stunned, too. This was not something that they really thought would come to this place. And as one person I spoke to said, we're livid with this decision. And it is something that, they paid the price already. They lost game 2 when he was ejected. They don't have a problem with that. I think there was an understanding that what he did deserved an ejection, and that, they lost game 2 right after that. But they felt the suspension was unnecessary and egregious. And I think one thing also, just in listening to Joe Dumars there, this is another thing that had been spoken about in Warrior circles last night and this morning. The league, there was an investigator who spoke to Draymond, but Joe Dumars just said he didn't talk to Draymond until this morning, until after the decision was made. Usually in a situation like this, other people would talk directly to Joe, or would talk directly to Adam Silver, or talk directly to high-level people when this decision is being made. And the consequences of this are enormous. They're down 2-0 in this series.
It's been a minute since I've been in studio. And as a guy that was actually on that side where Draymond is at, a guy that actually got suspended for actually making face-to-face contact with Tyreke Evans, not headbutting, face-to-face contact. It's going to happen. And when you have those conversations on the phone, when you call into the principal office, they're going to see if you're remorseful. They're going to see if you're apologetic about it. And if you're not, and you have a history, then they're going to issue a significant type punishment. And it happens. It happens to all of us. Do I want Draymond suspended? No. Does he deserve to be suspended? Yes. You cannot leapfrog off of somebody's chest and think that it's cool. So the leapfrog off of Sabonis was one thing, but then the actions after that to the fan base was another thing. And then when he went in his post-game interview, he wasn't remorseful. Like, the league look at all that. This is a guy that has been suspended, so I know. So then coming to the second part of it, what's the resolution? So I was talking with Zach Lowe before the show started, and I said, you know what? I thought about this. How about the league, if it comes to a point where you're straddling the fence, like for as an incident like this incident that happened, how about just suspend them the next season? Don't suspend him in the postseason so that he is available. But it's hard to walk that fine line. But again, I want to see Draymond on the floor, but I know how it goes behind the scenes when they do issue these punishments. And everything he did leading up to this had played a huge part in him being suspended for Game 3.
These are hard decisions. Like, they're hard decisions for the league, and we can run tape of prior suspensions in the playoffs. Perk, you were in a series where Zach Randolph got suspended for a game for kind of elbowing Steven Adams. He got suspended for Game 7, as a matter of fact. So there is precedent. But the Draymond Green precedent is different in a way. You called it a Lifetime Achievement Award. Part of the reason it's a Lifetime Achievement Award, you go back, we have the image of him with Steven Adams right here. I mean, it took like 4 of these in the same playoffs for him to finally get suspended. So I would understand if Draymond Green said, wait a second, well, it takes 1 now? It took 2, 3, 4 incidents in that playoffs, culminating in this one with LeBron. It's a hard decision. I said yesterday I thought it was legislated correctly in the game. That Sabonis got a technical and Draymond was ejected. And let's leave it there. The league obviously disagreed. The fact that it took till midnight Eastern yesterday, I think, is proof that they actually deliberated for a long time, and it was not a unified decision. I understand why the Warriors are angry. Ultimately, it is Draymond's fault. It's Draymond's fault, and you just can't do what he did, even if Sabonis wrapped you up. And I think that is the thing that makes this distinct is Sabonis has a role. This is not an elbow out of nowhere. Sabonis has a role. It's a tough decision. I would have liked to see him play Game 3, but let's just be clear about one thing. The Kings are kicking their butts.
Thank you.
Maybe not kicking their butts. Game 1, they had a Wiggins 3 to win the game. The Kings are playing the best defense they've played all season, and we're not talking for 1 second about it. And that's the reality of life. It stinks, but credit to the Kings. They won those first 2 games.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox, newly minted Clutch Player of the Year, a new award that the NBA is handing out. The Coach of the Year will be handed out today, and many of us expect that to be Mike Brown.
Is that today?
To me, it's a bummer. Yeah. To me, it's just a bummer. Like, you want to see the full-strength Golden State Warriors out there attempting to defend their home court, and that's kind of why I asked Joe about how. And I understand the thought of, okay, it just takes one act, one cup being thrown, something to escalate this to a place that the league doesn't want it to be. But villains are good for the game.